way to keep the energy going and the morning starting off right. As we get into our next panel, we're excited to welcome to the stage a group of Johnson & Johnson media and marketing experts. They're going to take us through reinventing marketing in the digital era. I'm going to move out of the way so they can get on stage. Lilly, Bretaña, acquisition manager of Reach Media, consumer growth and performance marketing. Matt Fantazier, head of consumer growth, performance marketing, Baby and Body. Sam Mack, manager of consumer growth and performance marketing. And the fabulous moderator, Dan Gensler, SVP client development, Basis Technologies. Come on up, guys.
Yeah, we can we have an extra chair.
Oh, sorry about that. Yep. Good. All right. Hello. Hello. There you go. Good to go. Hi. I know a lot of moving around. I know how this goes. This happened all day yesterday. So, hi. That was actually a really interesting session. I think between yesterday, today, I think all the thought leadership has been really, really interesting, and it's been fun to listen to. I've got new friends from J&J. In case you didn't know, that's Johnson & Johnson, just in case you didn't know. And yeah, we're going to talk about a lot of different things today, but before we get started, I figured we'll go through a round of introductions, who you are, where you've been, what you're doing. And then I got on here, tell us a little something about yourself that might surprise the audience. I'll start to make it easy. Dave Gensler, I work over at Basis Technologies. We are an ad tech platform for paid digital media and for brands and agency partners. And my fun fact is, in 8th grade, I was almost a new kid on the block. NKOTB, yeah. So in 8th grade, they came to the high school. They came to my junior high.
Beat that.
Well, I mean, they came to junior high, and we were in the back, and a media person came over and said, hey, how does it feel to be a new kid on the block? And the manager of the band came over and said, well, new haircut, new clothes, shoes, you could be one. I went home, I told my mom, I'm like, oh my God, I am going to be a new kid on the block. And it didn't happen. So I was almost a new kid on the block.
All right, that was, you buried that one. I don't know how I follow that. Well, I'm Matt Fantazier. I lead our growth and performance team for our body and baby care category. I've been at J&J for 17 years. My super fun fact is that I am actually a certified public accountant. So get those taxes ready. I don't do that anymore.
It's very exciting.
If you want to meet women, CPA.
Well, I have the right stuff stuck in my head now. Thank you very much. I'm Lilly, Bretaña. I'm currently the Reach Media Manager on Skin Health West, supporting our Neutrogena and Aveeno brands. Previously, I was actually at Paxa, and before that, Lucky Brand, just supporting our digital marketing efforts. Let's see. Fun fact about me. I actually used to be the heiress of a donut shop. My mom was actually...
Wow, it went from here to here.
She was an entrepreneur all while I was growing up. So I got to see her working 16, 17-hour days. And I thought it was really cool. Maybe someday that donut shop could be mine. But she actually moved on and sold the business. But it was a great time growing up. I was like the favorite classmate. I brought donuts to class every birthday. I would sometimes sneak in the back and eat sprinkles, only sprinkles. So it was a dream come true.
And hi, everyone. My name is Sam Mack. I am the Consumer Growth and Performance Marketing Manager across the body and baby care businesses. I lead our engagement team, so that's all the owned experience and owned content. I've been at J&J for about 6 years, or a little over 6 years. My background is mostly in brand. Switched over to growth and performance probably 2 years ago. And something that might surprise you about me, only because it doesn't look so yet, is that I'm expecting my first child.
Yeah, you can't top that. That's
Panel over.
yep. It's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank
And
you.
and I think you told me it's a girl.
It's a girl.
It's very exciting.
It's a girl.
That's awesome.
Thank
Yep,
you.
nothing better. As a dad of 3 girls, nothing better. Okay, so not much has changed. I think we can all agree in the past 2 years, it's been relatively kind of normal. Not. So it has obviously been a ton of change. So how has that kind of changed? Have you been thinking about marketing, from the past 2 years up until present?
I mean, really, this all started, during COVID, I would say we got really serious about this. We've always had digital teams really focused, on digital innovation, but during 2020, we actually had a cross-functional team get together and ask ourselves the question, how do we not just grow with this trend? Everyone's moving online, but picking up, buy online, pick up in store, all these sorts of things, consuming more digital media. But how do we actually win? Is there an opportunity for us to step change our approach to not just grow with it, but to actually become leaders? So I was actually on the brand side at that time, and the net realization there is it takes people. You need people to actually be dedicated to these things, to be focused, not 5% of an ABM side hustle, but dedicating their time to things like media, content, influencer. And we created this team, essentially. I was employee one of the team, and then brought on people like Lilly and Sam to really build that out and think about how do we manage our brands differently, how we manage them for the next 10 years, not the way we've been managing things the last 10 years. And really, it's been about bringing together brand equity and performance. I think it's really an and that's the key insight here. It's not just laser focused on digital, but how do we incorporate the brand thinking, the equity thinking, as well as the performance, and really treating these things as one thing has been really the biggest way we've gone after that.
And it kind of leads into that whole, and it's overused, but the whole full funnel kind of concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, so within our growth and performance team, we recently stood up our engagement team, and the genesis of this team was rooted in the insight that consumer behavior is really changing online. They're simply spending more time there. We just learned yesterday that 40% of Gen Z is using social platforms as their primary search engine. A recent Gartner study just came out that email is the preferred marketing source for a large majority of personal care consumers. And really, the consumer journey is just becoming increasingly more complex and prohibitively digital. So they're looking at social handles, they're looking to brand websites, they're looking to influencers for recommendations and everything in between. So it's more important for us to make sure that we are not missing a place in their consumer journey. We don't want to have a weak link in their consumer journey. So over the last 7 months, we built up our engagement team to do exactly that. So we own the end-to-end owned experience and content across our categories, things like CRM, website, SEO, social, influencer, to really drive that mental availability. Working in lockstep with our acquisition partners and our brand partners to make sure that everything is working together cohesively. And something that really inspires me about our engagement team, which to Matt's point about step changing the way that we show up to consumers, is that we're not just creating content to create it anymore. It's not enough to just keep the lights on. We're ruthlessly focused in how can we be distinct over different? How can we be breakthrough? How can we be culturally relevant? We know these are all the things that are going to drive that effective mental availability. And doing so by being very focused on measurement and learning, both internally and externally.
And Sam brought up the acquisition arm, and that's actually the pillar of the growth and performance team where I sit. So that's everything performance marketing related. And that ranges from our paid search efforts, paid social, and myself, I handle reach media, which includes programmatic display, OLV, out-of-home audio campaigns, and some TV. So really just honing in on the fact that the consumer is now online predominantly shopping, leaning into that e-commerce experience, and really being okay with not shopping brick and mortar. So how can we be where the consumer is? I think a really great part of our organization is just being able to find that person in that place and that moment. So really doubling down and expanding on that mental availability by letting the consumer know that, hey, we have physical availability and you can get it at XYZ retailer.
Yeah, it's great insights. Keeping in the theme of change, you don't have to go very far and look at any trade publications or go to other conferences at CES and South by. The concept of automation in housing continually comes up. So a two-part question, like how have you defined in housing? Because everybody seems to think of it differently. And how has that changed your relationship with your agency partners or vendors that you work with?
Yeah, I mean, for us, in housing isn't bringing in everything, but really being choiceful about what are the things where we should own? What can we be great at? And what I like to think is we've in-housed more of the strategy, more of the expertise, more people who can speak the language of these channels, and then in turn become much more collaborative with our partners. So I think in the past, it's been, here's a brief, we're going to throw it over the fence, we'll see you in a week, and then 6 months later, let me know how it goes. We're trying to move to a place where we're co-creating our plans. We're thinking about, we can ask better questions. We can get into the data together and have a real conversation and then make it more of a one team sort of mentality. So in-housing the capability, the expertise, but not necessarily the function is really how we've thought about it across all the pillars that these guys have talked about. So people who live and breathe influencer, media, analytics, search, and then work with our either media partners or agency partners and actually be able to work together and not just, hey, please fix. Like, that's not great.
Lily, anything else?
Yeah, no, I'm going to second that fully because our media partners, our agency partners are really, really wonderful people and a really, really strong resource for us. We don't want to take that away from them. I think it's really just an effort to try to collaborate with them as much as possible so that we can get the best results. It's about asking the so what within the strategy, and so that we're all holding hands so that we can deploy the best marketing plan for the world to see. So it's just really about collaborating in the best way possible. Whereas before this team was stood up, there was never the question of, well, is that the right strategy? Are there more individuals that we should be reaching? What other channels should we consider? So it's really about accelerating, amplifying, and doubling down on what we think will work best.
It makes sense. Truly relying on those agency partners and other partners to be a lot more strategic in how you guys collaborate together, which makes a ton of sense. So that brings us towards the concept of moving from change to challenges. So over the course of the past 2 years plus, right, there's got to be a lot of challenges that you face, and especially if I try to put it in a digital bucket versus just the broad marketing spectrum. Like, what kind of challenges have you faced, and kind of how have you handled those?
Yeah, so I would say standing up a new capability, a new team in an organization is always challenging because it's change, and change is uncomfortable. Specifically within our owned experience and owned content, these channels kind of had cobwebs on them. They were historically a very small percentage of someone's time, and for good reason at the time. But now that we have a team focusing on these channels and quickly bringing value to the business, we have this new challenge that I like to call our teams going content crazy. We want to post every activation and every campaign across every channel. And we love that enthusiasm. However, it's really our team's challenge to create strategic frameworks on the role that these channels play within the consumer journey. So the more focused we can be on mapping consumer behavior to our own channels, and the more focused we could be on prioritizing on what work needs to be done and creating measurement frameworks for how to really value these activations and tie it back to business objectives, the better our content's going to perform, and ultimately, and most importantly, the better experience it will be for our consumer.
I mean, I think the biggest challenge at an organizational level is everyone talks about, digital first, or we're gonna digitally accelerate. And when that happens, oftentimes I think you create a team and they're off in a corner and they're doing digital stuff. I don't think that actually works. I think that's not the way to do it. What we've done that's different, and the challenge has been, we need to change the entire organization. We can't just hire a bunch of smart people to do digital stuff. We need to make sure the brand people understand how we're working and how to work together. Our supply chain partners, our finance partners, what does an e-com P&L look like? All of the functions need to evolve with us. And that's been really one of the biggest challenges, is really lifting the entire organization up with us so that everyone at least understands this and can speak the language. And I would say the challenge within our team then is we're embedded inside of the local marketing team. We are not a standalone entity. We sit onto the teams, and I like to always tell these guys, we don't have goals on our team. We adopt 100% the goals of the business and the brands, and then we are the ones who enable those strategies to come to life. I think making sure that everything we do is in lockstep with the organization also helps with the change management. But transparently, this is a huge, huge organizational shift and a very different way of running a 100-plus-year-old CPG company. This is not, we're not a startup that's selling things online.
I mean, it's just thousands of marketers, employees, brand people. Tying that together has got to be talk about pushing a stone up a hill. That's not easy.
I've spent a lot of time explaining this, and I think a lot of it is a change management job, especially from a leadership position. My job is prohibitively, we talk about the what and the how, what's what you do and how is the leadership. I spend all my time on the how side trying to figure out how do we, break down this challenge today. How do we figure out our ways of working with an agency or an innovation team or anything like that? Because it all matters. You can't jump to the solution until you've figured out all of this and made sure everyone understands how they fit into this as well, because it does take everybody.
Well, and we were talking about this before we came up here, how even coming to events like South by or CES or Cannes or any of these types of events, right? Taking a 100-year-old marketing company who never did those types of things, right? This is all new. And helping them explain that to them, they're like, well, I don't get why do we need to do that? Well, it's called about relevance, right? I mean, it's a big difference. Let's go to the consumer side of this, right? So over the past 2 years, there's been a big change on how you reach, how brands can influence a consumer, how they shop, how they purchase. So are there innovative ways that you guys are thinking about how to actually connect with those types of consumers?
Yeah, so I would say on the Baby Squad, we launched a new brand last July called Vivian Bloom. It's our first D2C brand within our baby portfolio. And our team was really looking to kind of upgrade our website experience to bring human connection, which is a really important equity pillar for the brand, to drive conversion. So we partnered with a vendor called Firework, where we tested out 2 new innovative solutions for our organization. One is shoppable videos that live on our homepage and our product pages on our website that showcase brand ambassadors and brand reviews in a UGC-led, influencer creator-led format. And the second was a shoppable live stream. So these activations launched earlier this year, late last year, and we're already seeing pretty phenomenal early performance reads. About a quarter of our D2C revenue is coming from those who've watched and engaged with our shoppable videos. And for our live stream, we found that on average, consumers were watching 2.5 minutes of this live stream, which I think we all know it's really hard to get a consumer's attention for 2.5 minutes. And on top of that, 90% of them were new to our site. And not only were they watching it and they were new consumers, but our add to cart rates were 3 times the benchmark. So we also saw that conversion shine as well. So super cool example of bringing some innovative solutions to solve a business problem.
Great, with great results.
Yeah.
Lily? Hell yeah.
Yeah, and just speaking from an acquisition perspective, we've really leaned into the YouTube Brand Connect campaign format. If you guys haven't heard what that is, it's really an opportunity for brands and advertisers to be able to work very genuinely and authentically with creators on YouTube. And so that partnership allows for an organic moment as well as a paid moment where you can cut down that organic segment in order to make a very, very native and authentic sounding ad. So it's just been a really great way for us to be able to make content very turnkey, but also tap into the fact that consumers are leaning into user-generated content. This is what they want to see. They want to see these influencers and creators that they watch on a daily basis. They're following their lives, but they also want to know what their recommendations are. And what's even more powerful for us is when we partner with these creators time and time again. So we've had creators actually approach us and say, hey, I really enjoyed that campaign that we worked on, like 2 years ago. Can we partner with you again? Is there anything coming up? And that's powerful. That's something that you can't just artificially create. These are genuine creators who want to work with us, not only because we unlock a very good communication pattern and we're working really well with YouTube, but they just think our products are efficacious and they think they work. So really, really building and driving that genuine relationship and showcasing that to the consumer has been the best superpower for us.
And it's so much better to not have something super transactional, right? This is a relationship that you guys are building over time with people can truly influence purchase decisions. So it's a really unique way of doing it. It's awesome. Okay, before we open up questions to the audience, we've talked a lot about it, a lot of different campaigns, a lot of different success stories. Is there one in your history? I know you've got a history of, I think you said a lot of years. I won't date you.
I use our products.
Yeah. Is there a campaign that really sticks out to you guys over the course of your career at J&J thus far?
Yeah, I think one of my favorites was when I was leading our baby marketing team a couple of years ago in 2020. A lot was going on in 2020, COVID, the throes of that, but as well a national discussion on racism. And what we did was we did a partnership with Scary Mommy and the Dad and created content around how to talk to your kids about racism. Because frankly, parents did not need to hear about shampoo. That is not the top thing that they were worried about. And this was a real problem that we were able to jump in and create an authentic solution for, and something that, we were able to live our purpose and live our mission. We talk about that. People donate money or post things online, but we actually did something, created content and tools for parents that I hope, we got the feedback, but if we helped one person, I think it's probably worth it to have that conversation, because it was, how do I talk to my 4-year-old about something as, systemic racism? That's a pretty heady topic, but there are ways, and we worked with child psychiatrists and things like that, and the experts, brought in experts to say, hey, parents, this is, part of raising healthy kids is the mental part of that and social part of that. So that was an incredibly rewarding experience. And, you don't always get a chance to do something you feel so passionately about and personal. Most of the time it's, please buy shampoo, lotion, whatever. But this was really impactful, and that's what I'm really proud of.
And you should be. The convergence of personal and professional is not easy to achieve. So that's awesome. That to me is, for sure. Lily?
One of really the most purpose-driven campaigns that I've worked on since I started at J&J has been the amplification of our In the Sun documentary. It actually is by our executive producer, Kerry Washington. and it follows the lives of 7 families and their skin health journeys. It really, really, really emphasizes the importance of sun care and sun protection. And not one moment in that documentary do we talk about product. And it's about building equity, but it's about really promoting our values. And even in the amplification strategy, not more than half of that strategy was focused on branding and shoppability and all of that, because we feel that it's important. Health is our priority. To be able to deliver that message to our consumer was a priority. And it was actually, my involvement in that was one of the first ones when I joined, and I was luckily able to anniversary that the year after. So it's just been really great to see the results and know that people truly care to hear these stories, and they kind of end up buying the product anyways, not because they're freaked out about skin cancer after watching it, but it's really about caring about your family. And I think that's the main point of that documentary, is just to be able to emphasize that and really, really bolden that as the true message. And we are a family oriented company. We really pride in that being our main value. So it's really awesome to be able to work on that campaign.
What was the name of that documentary?
In the Sun.
In the Sun. Got it. Noted. Sam?
I would say the campaign I've been most proud to be a part of has been our Aveeno Baby Eczema Equality campaign. This campaign was rooted in the insight that Black babies are 1.7 times more likely to have eczema than white babies. And when parents searched online baby eczema, the majority of the content, almost all of the content that they were seeing were photos of eczema on white skin. So Aveeno Baby set out on a mission to balance the representation of eczema, partnered with an agency to create 1,800 images of eczema on underrepresented skin tones, built out resources across our digital channels for these parents who are going through this very sensitive time in their lives. I think it's a really good example of finding a place where our brands can really be authentic in our equities and in a real problem that's out there, and help consumers when they're going through an emotional state.
It seems that it's the personal connection for everybody. I mean, this has all been, it's not like a new product launch type of thing that we're most proud of here. This is about personal connections and really making change. So that's awesome. Before I ask questions, I'll go just one impromptu. We haven't talked about this before. Bingeable Netflix/show, like your favorite one. I Better Call Saul for me was just so much fun.
Start.
You want me to start? Okay. Mine is Squid Games. We loved that show. We watched it twice, both with the subtitles and without. What about you? Go ahead.
Vanderpump Rules, obviously. I am so deep in Scandival, guys. If anyone wants to talk about that, I'm here. I have all sorts of theories. That or the OC, obviously.
So this is totally not because I knew I was coming here to Texas, but I have been binge watching King of the Hill. I don't know if you guys ever remember watching that just when it first ran, but it is a great show, and watching it in your adulthood, it's even greater.
I wouldn't have thought of that one. That's pretty funny. Questions?
Is it on? Okay. Hi, I'm Megan. I'm from Susie. I have a question for you, Sam, as a new or soon-to-be mom entering the category that you're working on. What is either brand or campaign or something that you're most excited about as you enter this new chapter?
A brand or campaign?
Just some of the work that I think the mic turned off, some of the work that you're working on, and as you kind of enter and become a consumer in this category yourself personally, what are you most excited about?
Sure. So I'm excited about a lot of things. I think in terms of work and some of the work that we're doing, we recently revamped our CRM strategy. to focus more on the journey of mom from expecting to age 7, and how can we help her through the journey of an expecting parent to a newborn to a baby to a toddler to a kid. And in our baby portfolio, we have products for all of these points in the child's life. So the strategy is really to kind of focus in on the insights of like, how is mom feeling? Like, how can we emotionally connect with her through her journey of expecting to all of the life stages that come with having a child, and showing up in her inbox every month to give her something that she's excited about. And it's not always focused on product and selling, but a lot of it is really understanding like where in that journey, what may she be feeling that month with a fresh newborn, or the kid just turned 3 or 4 years old, their hair is changing and they maybe need a new solution. So that's something that I'm super proud of, and I think is really valuable for our consumer. We're already seeing sign-up rates and engagement rates increase. So yeah. Okay.
For 2 more and
So I had a question. There was the mention of the documentary with Kerry Washington. You also mentioned other execution about, I think it was skin conditions for underrepresented babies from a skin perspective. So everybody who's on the panel today, you have a performance marketing background. So I'm curious about the attribution piece. How, after that initial exposure to educating people through documentaries, through other types of communication, are you attributing it back to sales? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
I mean, every execution is going to have its own attribution. So ultimately, yes, we'd like to sell things because that's how we get paid. But that may not be the primary KPI. It may be to raise awareness. It may be, within the sun, it's really about raising awareness of sun safety and skin cancer prevention, which is an incredibly preventable and horrible disease at the same time. So it may not be direct sales at the first go of it, but we run a lot of different, models, mixed models, MTA, things of that sort to tag, where we're able to tag our media. It's not always possible, depending on the partner, but we look to that as one data source, but also understanding the equity measures as well. Oftentimes that may be more important and something we want to really make sure we're focusing on, because if we went into some of these executions saying like, my goal of talking to parents about racism is to get them to buy head to toe, I think I've lost the script a little bit. So that is not the primary objective for some of these equity things we're doing. But ultimately, where we can tag it, we do, to understand the impact.
Thank you. Okay, we've got one more. Hi, Nicole Craig. So another 100-year-old CPG company right here. But my question for you is, online, our brands need an edge, and that edge may be different by platform. So how do you think about stretching your brands to meet that edge without fracturing your brand promise? And how do you do that in an efficient way?
I think a really big part of trying to avoid that fragmentation is partnering very closely with our brand marketing teams in order to ensure that the message that they're really driving is consistent with whatever we're putting into market. And within each channel, we're really, really, really trying to drive that consistency as well. We haven't unlocked the perfect secret sauce in order to make sure that happens across the board, but definitely partnering with our engagement teams in order to make sure that, landing experiences are consistent, make sure creative ideation is consistent across the board. So it is very difficult, admittedly challenging to, you can't have 100% non-fragmentation, but it is going to happen. It's just about mitigating it as much as possible.
I think you also make choices. So I can't be everywhere. We are not on every platform because I have finite people, money to work with, all those things. Where you do show up, it has to be purposeful though. So what's the consumer looking for there? Are they looking for something different on a TikTok versus a website versus a Reddit versus a whatever? And making sure it's living up to that expectation, because if they have a crappy experience with you, they're going to buy something else. Consumers have way too many choices right now to afford poor consumer experiences online. So yes, we do have to break through, and we have to have a purpose. And I think you look to the consumer to see what do they actually want there and provide it. That's how you break through. But then being choiceful and prioritizing, because I'd rather do 5 things really, really well and be like, wow, that brand is killing it, versus being all over the place and looking like, having cobwebs on our, properties like Sam was talking about earlier. It's a shitty experience. Like, we can't have that.
Yeah, I think
do
it's
one more from the
also
back, and then
about
we'll switch out.
not having blinders, but being mindful of the market, but also making sure that we're just looking forward.
Hi, my name is Lauren Albin with Gamut Media. I was actually asking a question about user-generated content. So every brand is always talking about influencers, right? So I have a daughter that's graduating from college this year. She's 22, and she's kind of been doing some user-generated content. And she kind of understands what type of video you would need on Instagram versus TikTok. But she's always telling me, Mom, people want to see people that they know that look like them utilizing the brands. And that makes a bigger difference for my generation than some influencers. So I think my question to you is, while we're always talking about influencers, are you utilizing some UGC from just regular normal people as well?
Yeah, I mean, I would reframe though. Like, I think influencer you paint a broad brush with that. There's a different way to engage with people. There's some folks we work with that are truly influencers. They have a media presence. They influence decisions. But looking to people to help us create our website content, or even in our media, because they look like the audience or sound like the audience, but also they're talented. I think that's the other thing is you forget about sometimes. It's like, these people are talented. They can create great content for us. So yeah, we do engage in that for all sorts of different channels. And it's something we got forced into during COVID because you couldn't go on a shoot. But it's something we've kept up, and I think it's something you'll see a lot more of in the industry at large.
And to play devil's advocate, against that UGC point that I had made earlier, is there is a time and a place for brand-led content. So it's not like we can just walk away from that completely. There is an audience for that. There are still consumers who want to see very polished claims and messaging and imagery. For television, for example, I don't think UGC would work very well. So it's really about knowing your audience and how you can communicate them the best. It's about resonating and really driving that key message with the image or the person who you think will really hit home with that message.
Yeah, and I would just add, I think it really depends on the objective of what you're trying to do. So the example I gave before about upgrading our website experience and bringing that human connection, that was a really good way to bring in that UGC and creator-led content to achieve a business objective. On our social platforms, with our content calendars and our content strategies, we kind of pulse mini campaigns through the year. And if we have content from creators and influencers who have made content that fits within that, we absolutely fold that in there, because we know that resonates with our consumer, where someone's authentically talking about the product. It can't always be us talking to them.
Well, clearly this was a great panel with lots of great questions. Thank you guys, Johnson & Johnson team, so much. We really appreciate it.